Hello everyone, welcome to the Union Pacific Railroad Evanston Subdivision, the N-scale inspired HO layout. My name is Daryl Kruse, owner and builder of the layout and your host for episode 19 of season 2022. And this episode is on the Helix that is finally under construction. And we finally have trains running out of the east end of the staging yard. I said I was going to complete this Helix in 1 week, and that was wishful thinking. But I did get a good start and got the base done and 1 3/4 loops done. There's going to be a total of 5. Does seem to be going in circles, as you can see, and I've been pretty happy with how things have worked out. And I think this is going to be a really cool Helix. Let's jump back, though, a little bit to the beginning of the layout. This is where the construction began on this part of the staging yard. This construction began all the way back in September of last year. Finished out around the stairs here. And that's my old layout there. But anyway, we finished around the stairs and this first corner here and did the staging yard to begin the layout. That was back in September. And I was looking back at the construction history, and it took me 2 months to get the staging yard all done and this area of the basement finished and Morgan done. So that was quite a bit of work just to get things started. Once I had things started, though, then in November we did the main line all the way out here to Morgan, and it wasn't until December actually that we got here. So November was just getting the main line out to Morgan, which was that first corner, and then December was this Taggart Devil Slide area. Then in January, we did some more finishing and did this wholesome cement area, which is right here. I didn't get to this part till January. So construction progress was actually pretty slow at the beginning, but then it kind of sped up a lot. So in January, we finished this middle section of the basement and did that wholesome cement area there. Then we moved on to the Echo Canyon, which is going to be right here. That was still in the last part of January, first part of February. And then it was in February that work began. This is the Emery control point right here. Again, this was done up to February. Then late January into February, we worked on this peninsula here. And I spent a lot of time on this peninsula. Did this scenery here in the last week of February into March, and then all of this peninsula. So started the peninsula in late February, late January, and then worked on it all the way through mid-April, including the curval, which is right there. This is the end of the peninsula here. Peninsula is 9 feet wide, so it has some pretty broad curves, and then that one sharp one there is going to be covered with a tunnel. So turnback curves are not the best thing, but I think it's handled pretty good, or pretty well, I should say, in this this area. And then we come up to the Wasatch, final part of Wasatch grade up to the Wasatch control point right here. So this is now April and May that we started working on this area and extended the main line all the way to the outskirts of Evanston, which is right here. So this has been kind of a whirlwind of work from September up to date. Last week I did this yard throat here with all 10 turnouts and wiring that's all involved to there. And then it's been fun to get the traffic moving out of the other end of the staging yard, which I was able to do right here with this part of the Helix. And I think I should be able to get the rest of the Helix here done this week. So I'll only be 1 week behind schedule. All right, so here's how things kind of all went together. Started with this empty space. I moved everything out, got everything cleaned up a little bit. And the first thing was to anchor it to the concrete walls there. And all the concrete walls in our basement is covered with insulation, which is a good thing. But it does take a little bit more thinking and planning to get things attached. All right, so one of the first things I did was cut 4 holes in the insulation and used my hammer drill to drill some holes and attach some 2x4s to the cement walls with concrete screws. Those went in very tightly. And then I put a couple of L girders. These are about 84 inches. The black tape, by the way, is where I punctured the insulation, so I wanted to tape that up a little bit. Don't want any moisture getting in there. Where the black mark on the wood there, that's kind of where the 84 inches are. That's kind of the size that I was shooting for the Helix, which allowed for 38 and 40 inch radius curves on the Helix. And then from those 2 pieces I built the rest of the framing based on some framing that I outlined on my CAD drawing of the layout. Now you can see I have a couple of openings. I want to be able to get in and out of the inside of the Helix. So here's where the staging yard is, and it's going to flow, hopefully, into the circles of the Helix. And I decided to continue with the L girder construction since that has worked so well up to now. I went ahead and continued that for the base of the Helix, but I did make sure that there were a couple of openings so I could be able to get underneath it without having to go all the way to the bottom of the L girders, which was like 30 some inches. I'd have to get on my hands and knees to get under that there. So I want to be able to have a little bit more clearance so that when I use a chair, I could be able to get in and out of the center of the Helix. And the next thing I did was to put the joist on that will support the Helix. And I had to be really careful with the first level especially. And again, I cut these joists out according to a plan that I had laid out on my CAD drawing. When I actually saw it here in place, I was thinking it would cut the corners a little bit more than it did. I wasn't real confident that it was going to work out with the circles of the Helix. It just looked different in person than it actually did on the CAD drawing. But I went according to the drawings and just kind of trusted that it was going to work out. Then I went to the garage and started to cut out the circles. And again, the radius of the circles are 38 and 40. So basically there's 4 lines for each piece. You have the outside edge of the plywood, the inside edge of the plywood, and then the 2 lines in between that are the track centers. And I was able to draw out with my homemade compass there. I could get 9 pieces, 9 sections on 1 piece of plywood. And I'm using 3/8 inch plywood for these. And there's a little bit left over. I jigsawed them out and then just laid them on the floor to make sure that they fit correctly, and they came out pretty good. It takes just a little bit over 5, about a 5 1/4 of these to make one complete circle. So I think it's like 5.29. So I should be able to do the 5 turns out of 3 pieces of 3 sheets of plywood. Here you can see the scrap material I have left over, so it's pretty efficient. Just very tiny bits of scrap. That one big piece there, I actually used that to go from the staging yard throat to the first turn of the helix. All right, then I took 5 of the pieces downstairs and laid them out. Actually, this is 6 pieces. And I laid them out just to make sure that things would fit, and it actually does fit. It's kind of snug there at the insulation, but the insulation is compressible, so that actually turned out not to be a problem. And it does fit the joist same as it did in the CAD drawing. I did have to extend a few of them, and I think I added one also. I made these a little bit bigger than what you see right there. I did take those off and extend them out a little bit so that it was fully covered. And again, then we have allowances for some openings here. Now, it's not an opening so that I can walk through to get to the inside, but that I can get on my chair and kind of roll through without having to get on my hands and knees. All right, here you can see I used that scrap piece, the biggest scrap piece, to kind of connect from the staging yard. I still don't have the pieces spliced together yet, but I did make that first connection from the throat of the staging yard and into the first piece of the helix. I did make a change in the plan. Instead of having it go like this is how I originally had it planned, to basically go out and around. I think I was trying to give more of a mainline run. For the mainline is the blue, so this kind of extended a little bit further. But it was just going to be too complicated to do. I'd have to hang the track from the ceiling joist, and I just didn't think that was going to be very. It was definitely doable, but not something that would really be easy to do. And I would kind of figured out also that would kind of interfere with going in and out of the dispatcher's office. So I changed it to this. So I'm very much simplified. So it's just a straight helix that's going to go around, and then it's just going to go straight through to Peru there and begin the easternmost part of the main line on the second level. All right, here we have the pieces spliced together, and then I have some risers for the first complete turn. Now, this first turn is the most important because you want to make sure that the incline is what it needs to be. It needs to be consistent and solid, because every other level from here goes on top of this first level. So I was very careful to make sure that this was done as accurately as possible. The inclines is 1.9% on the inside track and 1.8% on the outside track. Actually, it's about 1.95 or 1.85. And it's a separation of 4.625, 4 5/8 inch for every turnaround. I was shooting for 4.5, but when I got done, it came out to 4 5/8. And then this is where we are now. Not quite. I think I have, this is where we are right now. So I have almost 2 complete levels done. And I should be able to do the last 3. Here you can see how I attached them with some 4-inch angle irons on the inside, and I just have blocks of wood on the outside. I have 12 risers all the way around, or supports I should say, 12 supports all the way around. I think that's every 30 degrees. So still maintaining the 12-inch, almost a little bit more than 12-inch from one support to the other, although it's on every other side. I do have the double crossover there. That's I got that from Lombard Hobbies. That's a Walther's double crossover. I have 2 of those. Here's what it looks like from the inside. I have to give some thanks to my son-in-law, who is a mechanical engineer. Great to have someone like that to help. He actually came up with this design of using the 12 supports on the inside and the 4-inch corner braces to attach each level. He was really interested in having it as open as possible, so you can see the trains actually going. And he's the one who actually did install these supports. Was kind of concerned about the sewer pipe there, but I think we're going to be able to clear that without too much trouble. So he was very helpful. He helped me on Saturday. We got quite a bit done on Saturday. He attached all the supports. You know, there's some angle cuts that needed to be done to get those exactly at 12. Here you can kind of see how it comes in smoothly. I'm going to put a dispatcher's table here. I was trying to decide what kind of table to get, and I just decided I'm just going to build my own, attach a piece of plywood there to the bottom of the L girders, and we'll be able to come up with a nice table there to put the computer, and the dispatcher will be able to sit here and watch things go. Here's how I go from outside the dispatchers, from outside the Helix to inside the Helix. Works out a little bit better, a little bit higher. I have to duck a little bit more this way, but that's not so hard to get up and out of the chair. I do have a little bit of arthritis in my knees, so definitely is a good way to go. So I'm pretty happy with how things turned out so far on the Helix. Here we have a train running through it, and I put together a train. This has 38 cars. And I also want to mention that I do have the turnouts here set up to run off my throttle, so I have to do these are routed. Each track is route, so I'm on track 9. So if I throw for track 9, which is 209, it turns all the turnouts to line up for track 9, which my train is on. So on the West staging yard, which is the first throat I did, it's 101 through 112, and that lines up all the switches for track 1 through 12 on the west side. On the east side here, it's 201 through 212 for tracks 1 through 12. So this train's on track 9, so I did 209 through the switch and lined everything up. So that works out pretty cool. And again, this is a train that has 38 cars, so that's bigger than any staging track can hold. And I have 2 locomotives here. This is an Intermountain Tier 4, which is really heavy and a great puller, and then an Athearn Gevo, which is a good puller, but nowhere near the class of the Intermountain. Now, I did pull all 38 cars up with 3 locomotives at the head end and no DPUs. This time, I am running 3 locomotives again, but I have 2 at the head end, 1 Intermountain and 1 Athearn. And then about 22 cars back, I have another Intermountain Tier 4 as a mid-train helper. And it was interesting that I could pull 38 cars with it set up as a mid-train helper, but only 35 cars when I had them all at the head end. So you can understand why the Union Pacific and other major railroads have been doing a lot of DPUs, because I'm assuming that it lessens the curve friction if you have the power distributed. This is pretty cool when they run one on top of the other. So you can pull more when you have the power distributed, as opposed to having all the power at the head end. So I think I'm going to have a lot of trains having distributed power. But as you can see, this is 38 cars, and they're not small cars either. There's some auto racks. There's 70-foot reefers by Atlas, 60-foot boxcars, and actually I think there's 70-foot box cars. No, there's 60-foot boxcars, I believe. Some tank cars. So this is, I think it comes out to like 36 feet long, and my largest staging yard is 32 feet long. So this is larger than anything that fits on my staging yard. So I want to make sure I could handle every single train in the staging yard, and then I also want to be able to handle maybe some special trains, if I might double up some trains. But didn't have any difficulties at all with string lining. No cars were even close to being tipping over. You notice I have all the auto racks at the head end of the train. No, even when I had all three locomotives at the front of the train, had no problems with any cars even starting to tip over. And I'm running this on the inside track, which is the steeper incline. Now I'm switching over here to a local here with some SD40N. So I got 211, which is where it's located. So it's going to change the turnouts for a couple of SD40Ns. These are by Athearn. These are pretty light locomotives, and I am pulling a train of 30-some cars. I think there's 32 cars here, which is more than the locals. I'm going to kind of hold my locals to about, I'm here throwing the switch here. These are going to be thrown manually. I'm not going to worry about hooking up tortoises to those. I just figured the dispatcher can reach them from inside the Helix and can throw them as needed. This one has to cross over to the outside track, since the inside track is already occupied. Again, this is the Walthers double crossover. Those are number 6 turnouts. I got that from Lombard Hobbies. Got 2 of them from them. There's no distributive power on this train, just 2 stock SD70Ns from Athearn, and pulling a lot of the different kinds of cars here: tank cars, box cars, flat cars, some reefers. And I was not able to pull all these up. And these are just cars just right out of the box. I haven't done any fine tuning. I know a lot of the cars are not that free rolling. So I think if I do some work on each of the cars when I get to that point, and am able to make sure all the cars are free rolling and so forth, I may be able to do more. But this train does eventually stop here pretty soon. Still moving. So right by here, now it's spinning its wheels. So I know if I disconnect it here, it'll start up again. See if I can do this. There you go. All right, so that's about I think I counted 26, 28, something like that. It was in the 20s. I'm going to try to limit my local trains that are pulled by just these two ST70Ns. I'm going to try and limit to about 25 cars. So I know it's more than 25 that I have on here now, so that should not be a problem. Pulling 25 cars up with these. So I'm real happy with the decision that I made on doing just 5 turns. I was going to do a 4-inch separation and then do more, one more circle, but that would leave me less room in between the levels. Having the 4 and 5/8 inch, I'm able to get my fingers in there, no problems, lots of room. So if I need to, I can, re-rail things. I don't have a lot of separation between the tracks. I do have enough for clearance. There's no problem with clearance for all the cars, but I can't get my fingers all the way down to the bottom, but I'm still able to get my hands in there and adjust things. So I was really happy to go with a 4 and 5/8 instead of 4-inch, and I'm still able to pull the trains that I want to pull up the Helix. So this next week, I'm going to put on the remaining 3 loops and be able to work on the upper level from this area here. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Stay tuned next week. Hopefully I'll have it on Sunday next week. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Have a great week. Take care.